Okay, we are back for our final pre-race elite athlete interview. My name is Dylan Bowman, joined by MK Sullivan before the 2023 Mammoth Trail Fest, and we are concluding with the Man Bun Show. Chad Hall, Noah Williams here. It was Chad who said that, we're a group of friends here. It's fun to, sort of comment on hairstyles, etc. as we lead into a big race. So maybe have you first both talk about the race last weekend where you finished 9th, 10th at Pikes Peak. How did it go for each of you? How are you feeling about the result? And how do you feel heading into this weekend?
I'll let you go, man.
I was very pleased with the result. I felt like the performance was I ran the marathon last year and ran 2:17 up. So I felt like given the day, I think everyone agrees it was like great conditions to run, really cool. And then the snow kept it really packed down. I'm not trying to take away from, like, Remy's record was incredible. And I think that was also just an amazing part of the day, like getting to the top and hearing that he got it. I was like, no way, no way. It's just so old, and it's Matt Carpenter. So super cool to be part of that. And lucky to squeeze into the top 10. I think I ran smart. And just waited for my strength above 12 to shine through. So, and feeling pretty good about this weekend, I guess. Drove 14 hours to get here. Just got here a few hours ago. So not the ideal lead up. And this was more of an add-on to the end of my season. Pikes was definitely an A race, and I wouldn't say I'm going into this with the same mindset. So yeah, excited to be here though. I've heard it's a great time. So.
Yeah. For me, Pikes was kind of a rough one. Kind of got out. I always think I'm going to be conservative, and I feel like there's no such thing as conservative on Pikes Peak. It's you're dying regardless of how hard you run the first part. So it's kind of in the middle of the pack, and just, I don't know, energy never quite came around, but you're getting higher and energy's all over the place. But it was fun. that race continues to get more and more competitive. 3 years ago, I think I was second place overall, and I made a wrong turn, ran to the top of the incline, came back down, passed half the race, and 2:26 got second place 3 years ago. So to say how much competitive that race has become has been incredible. Yeah. So it was really cool, and seeing Remy do that was amazing. Just so many great performances. It was a cool weekend to be a part of.
Yeah. You throw the Euros into any race and it's not going to go out conservative ever.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, maybe I could just, and no, you can't. But so I'm wondering, were you guys friends before this race, or did you kind of bond out there suffering in 9th and 10th together?
Just kind of cross paths on a number of occasions, as people do as you race. Yeah. But I was looking over my shoulder and I was like, dang it, Noah's just not relenting on me.
Yeah, I definitely didn't put myself in the race early on, but I live in Leadville, so that helps. It's almost a bit of cheating, for that race specifically, because I just don't feel it until the last mile, really. But yeah, honored to be running behind Chad, and didn't expect to see him. I was hoping he'd be further up, to be honest. But I was thinking in my head, who's still ahead? Because I was way back. I think I was in 25th or something. But we've been running each other a couple times, and obviously I knew not to always be in the shadow of your brother. But Ryan Hall was a huge inspiration to me in high school. Watching that, I think I've watched that 2008 Olympic trials marathon so many times. So it was cool to meet him up there too. So, yeah.
Noah, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I think among the people who finished in the top 10 last weekend who are going to be competitive this weekend, you're one of the lesser known quantities. You're sort of continuing to make a name for yourself in the sport. Chad was sort of a breakout star of last year's season. I feel like you sort of represent something similar this year and maybe in the future too. So maybe just give us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in Leadville.
Sure. Well, I'm from Vermont originally. I appreciate all that being said. It's always weird to hear what other people think of where you are with trail running, because I feel like I've been in the game for 4 or 5 years, but truly last season and this season were where I found my stride, I think, with the types of races I want to do, my distance and my, type of race, where I do well. But I moved to Leadville in 2018 for a teaching gig and didn't really find teaching that intriguing, I guess, and then moved into like the outdoor industry. I've been working at Copper for 5 years. That'll be my 4th year on ski patrol this coming winter. So get a lot of skiing time on my feet. It's a little bit harder to train in the winter, but I really like just being a mountain athlete. Like I wouldn't really say I'm a stronger in trail running or skiing. I'm kind of both. And I've gotten into, I've definitely raced a lot more running, but like I'm getting into skimo racing now. And I did Nordic ski back in Vermont growing up. So like a lot of trail runners, finding that my skills from Nordic skiing are like going to pay off or continuing to pay off even without skiing. So
we were commenting about how Sophia Lockley is, of course, a cross-country skiing Olympian, and Remy Bonnet is a world champion ski mountaineer.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear you say a few more words about ski patrolling, because
Sure.
I have a lot of friends who've worked in that field as well, and they're always high character, high integrity people, and it's a career that builds character and that builds mountain athleticism.
Yeah, I love it. I'm almost a little worried now because I don't know. I wish it was more sustainable, like for a career, to be honest, financially. I just don't know if I see myself in it for too much longer, but I'm realizing it's going to be so hard to leave. Like the perks of that job are just awesome.
Yeah.
If you love skiing, which I was on skis before, I can't remember the first time I was on skis, and kind of growing up in Vermont, that's part of that. But yeah, I love, I did ski instruct, but switched to patrol and realized it's really what I want to be doing out there. You're up high all the time. Our lowest duty station is like 11.7, and a lot of times I spend, the upper ones are at 12.3. And so I'm doing more like of the avalanche mitigation side of the job rather than, I am doing medical, everyone does. But I love Copper. It's mixed. I think some patrols do a little, like they have you focus more on avalanche mitigation later on, but I got into the mix pretty early on. It'll be my 4th year, but a lot of patrollers are like 1st and 2nd year, and it takes some time to get kind of the experience. But I love being out in sometimes some not the best conditions, but having that level of trust. I think there's this heightened sense of sort of just consciousness when you're in front of that kind of risk, and you're the one who needs to make the decisions and stay calm. And I'm definitely really used to cold and wind. But yeah, you're right. It builds character, and I've met some incredible people who, I've tried to get some of my buddies on patrol to get into trail running or skimo, and I don't think some of them realize how good they could be, because they're out there all the time. And Copper is the athlete's mountain, so it's cool that you brought that up.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're definitely going to get plenty of cold and wind tomorrow up top Mammoth Mountain.
True. Good point.
It's pretty exposed up there, and also it has not left the cloud since I've been here.
It's sunny tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks clear in the morning.
Come on.
Our drone operators are certainly praying for that.
Yeah. But so Chad, you have been racing a ton this year, and like different distances, different terrains all over the place. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of set up your schedule, if you do it all, or if you're just kind of doing it like on whims.
Yeah, I feel like actually I haven't raced as much as I would have liked to this year. I'm kind of trying to like set up next year a little bit, whatever that might be. But yeah, I definitely get pulled in a lot of directions. I race on the roads, done the marathon, and slated to do the Olympic trials in February, which a lot of trail runners like, okay, you're going to be running, trying to make that OTQ, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of us get pulled in different directions, which is a cool place where, it's like mountain people. Like I have no familiarity with any of the skimo stuff.
Yeah.
So interacting with different athletes, it's cool in that way. But yeah, I think I want to do a little bit more of the Golden Trail series. So I've been trying to hit some of those, setting up next year, maybe do more. But then, it's like, so maybe think ultra might be something in the future that I might check in with, which slated to do all 3 races this weekend is kind of testing out a little bit of those endurance legs. Yeah.
Well, Dylan and I will probably pull you in different directions on that because I'll tell you sub ultra for life.
Sub ultra for life, and you're ultra for sure, right?
I'm
Team
an
ultra. over there.
aging near retirement, grizzled ultra dude.
That's
But I
the
have
direction
so
I'm
much
heading.
respect for the sub ultra game, and it's probably the racing that I find most entertaining now, and really excited to be part of the broadcast team tomorrow. Chad, we saw each other at Broken Arrow earlier in the summer, and then I think afterwards you went and raced the Mont Blanc Marathon. Was that?
No,
you didn't. You didn't
I was
end
going
up going?
to, yeah. And I was kicking myself for not because Eli went over there and slammed it afterwards.
Yeah, crushed it.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to since then? Because I don't think I've seen your name around very much.
Yeah, it's mostly like training, working stuff, kind of getting a flow with that. Training's been kind of, I always try to set myself up to feel like I'm ready to race, and then sometimes you just got to send it,
Yeah.
So, like I said, haven't raced as much as I planned on just because training's been kind of spotty.
Yeah. So I guess to both of you, tell us about your training, especially in these last critical 8-10 weeks leading up to Mammoth Trail Fest. Obviously, you both ran Pikes Peak in the lead up as a last big workout before this weekend's race, but I'm sure the audience would love to hear any similarities or differences that you both bring to your training.
Yeah, I mean, Pikes Peak is always kind of one that I have yet to hit it quite right, but it's always one that I would really like to. So, yeah, a lot of big like mountain runs. Biggest one in SoCal, because I've been in Big Bear Lake, is San Gregorio. So I've done that a couple times, and that's like an hour-and-a-half climb. I did, when I was down in San Diego, did a 2-hour, 15% gradient run on the treadmill. So done some long treadmill efforts as well. But yeah, just kind of a lot of hill stuff, trying to keep some speed work in there, kind of still thinking about the marathon trials in February. So for me, it's been a little bit of a balancing act between those two.
Well, and you may feel this, but like I feel like especially for the sub ultra space, speed really translates to those climbing legs. So I think it's always good to kind of keep that stuff in anyways.
Yeah, I want to pick more people's brains about like how to do, because I mean, say like Pikes Peak, it's like 12% for 2 hours. It is I'm curious how other people train for it, because obviously like
Because you have to run.
Yeah. I mean, there's some fast sections there, but honestly, outrunning a little bit of the course this week, I'm like, yes, some downhill, some fast running.
Yeah.
Like, man, Pikes is just such a grind. Yeah.
No, what about you in training?
Well, I just cringed as Chad said that runnable downhill. So I'm definitely more, I think I'm definitely more in the camp of lots of vert, and to be honest, I think where I come from is like when I got into trail running in 2019 or started racing, I was like, well, I love doing big mountain days. And I mean, I ran in high school and college, I ran Division III, and I definitely did that, but then I sort of had this hiatus after college, and so I definitely am more on the adventure side. And I think for me, keeping the motivation, like being super motivated and excited for training days is what's the most important, even over what kind of quality the workout is. I will do workouts, but it's almost all lots of vert, and I know 25 to 30 grand at the most leading into like the block before Pikes per week. And but it was interesting hearing Jim and Zach both talk about doing that a lot more for UTMB too. So I'm definitely the kind of person that like I'm in sub ultra now, but I absolutely want to get into the long stuff later on. And I think doing lots of vert really early and getting used to that, how that treats my body, it feels better to me. But then Chad makes a good point. I mean, the 12% gradient, like, in these races, I definitely do need to be doing more speed work as well. So my lead up was vert heavy. The plan was to do like some sort of tempos and stuff leading into the month before, just to sharpen up. But every time I went out for, like, I just would start a drive to a flat run and I would like turn part way and be like, nah, I'm just going to go do a big mountain because it's such good weather or like whatever. I'm just sort of like stoked on, mountains more than, and that kind of overrides training a bit. So it's a good thing I'm self-coached, I guess, because my coach would be unhappy with me. Yeah.
Getting all that vert in now that will pay dividends down the road. I mean, it obviously helps now too, but like the more vert you can get in every year, like the better you're going to be when you show up to UTMB when you get there.
Yeah, and I would love to do that, and it was really inspiring watching what happened this year. I ran with Zach in Thailand and at the World Champs in 2022, and I mean, he's just the best guy, and it's so cool to watch him give everything he has and actually have a good race. Because in Thailand, he kind of had he tweaked his hamstring early on in the 40K and just didn't have. But we were running together at the end, and I finally got a sense of the competitor he is. Like, for that day, he gave everything he had, but he had a way better day at UTMB, and it was. I mean, I was watching the live stream, and I was like, he might do this. He might do it. And it was amazing that Jim did. But, yeah. American ultra, like the sub-ultra people there's a lot of guys like me, too, who are planning on doing the ultra stuff later on. Because right now, I'd rather run fast. It's fun.
It's an exciting time in the sport because, when I was coming up, you sort of had to go straight to 100 milers. And now, so interesting to be able to think about having a super long-term career because I've been lucky to be in the game for 15 years, but a lot of the guys who I sort of came up with exploded, burned out. We had Chris Fargo in here earlier today, and he's racing tomorrow, but he's been out of the game for 6 years, and now I think this new younger crop being able to take that longer-term approach, it's really exciting. Sort of MK represents that. Also, talking about tactics and stuff tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be fast. If you think about the course, and Chad, you raced last year, so maybe give us any details that you have about, the underfoot conditions and the vertical, et cetera. But, just sort of thinking about how it sets up, bookended with fast miles with the big Dragon's Back climb in the middle of it. How do you think it'll play out, and where do you think your strengths might lie?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have no idea. Because I did 50K last year, and we actually started in the opposite direction, went uptown, did some other extra stuff. So that race, I pulled it out immediately and just went solo from the gun. This obviously gonna be entirely different. The fast road section, and then not too much climbing before you hit Dragon's Back. It's gonna be interesting. I think it'll probably get taken out really fast. So it'll be a ton of fun though. I like the rhythm of the course. I think it'll be fun to get out quick, run really strong on Dragon's Back, and then it's going to be really fast coming off too. So, your guess is as good as mine.
Noah, how are you thinking about it?
I think my strength will come in the climb, the Dragon's Back climb. I'm excited to see what that looks like. I really haven't seen any of this course, so coming in pretty blind. But I've heard about the pumice sand. Thank you for that amazing pre-race. The pikes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The Sierra Kitty litter, as Danny calls it.
Yeah, that was very helpful for someone who's never seen the course. I think I'm gonna just try to have a good gap on people before that downhill. But I do. I think I have the potential to run pretty quickly downhill. I just don't know how the fast legs are going to feel at the very end. I think that's going to be the question. I feel like if I do it right, there's a fairly high likelihood those last three are going to be a fade, and I just need to mitigate the fade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I've said this a couple of times, to people that we've been sitting with. I ran the course last year, and those last 3 to 4 miles, they're hard. They don't look hard I don't know how you feel about it after 50K, but I was struggling because it wasn't quite downhill enough after hammering the downhill.
That's tough.
Yeah, I felt like it's an interesting thing because I think in trail running you usually do kind of get real steep downhills, so it's a totally different thing to just let gravity do the work for you and just turning it over, versus you got to kind of have your foot on the gas. It is a little bit road racy in that sense. Yeah. But I like that. I mean, it's just you kind of I think you have to stay checked in. Really, foot on the gas. Finish it off.
You sound mentally prepared for it though. Yeah. I was not mentally prepared for that at the end of the race last year. I was like,
Garrett was just talking about how you put time into him on the descent last year. And how surprised he was. Yeah.
I think he kept thinking he was going to bring it back. I don't know if he knew who I was, or I don't know if any of us knew who we were. But he was like, it just kept going out, and I just kept thinking you're going to come back. So, that was a fun race.
Yeah, it was awesome. MK, anything else for our great athletes here this afternoon before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. But I'm excited to commentate and watch you guys tomorrow.
Yeah. Good luck, guys. I hope the weather's great. I hope the racing is amazing. I hope you
sunshine on the top of
Oh yeah, no, it'll be sunshiny, but it'll be cold. Is still my guess.
Sweet. Well, thanks so much for coming in.
Yep,
Thank you
thanks,
for having
guys.
us. Appreciate
To our viewers, thank you so much for watching today. We're going to be back in here at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time to do sort of a preview show for tomorrow's 26K. Myself, MK, probably a few other people will be sitting in these chairs trying to bring the hype before tomorrow's broadcast. We'll see you at 6:30.
See ya.